How's it going, guys? Angus here from Makers Muse, and in this video we're going to be discussing how you can make money with 3D printing. So 3D printing has been around for a while, however it's only in the last few years that's really become hyped up by the media and accessible to actually pretty much anyone. Anyone can get into 3D printing, produce 3D dimensional objects physically in the real world for very small amounts of money. And because of this, it makes it quite accessible for anyone to actually get involved and actually make money from 3D printing. Now, I'm not lying, it is hard to get into 3D printing properly, but at a hobby level, there's no reason you can't sustain the hobby by producing things to sell. So let's talk about a couple of different methods to make money with 3D printing and how you can get into them. So first method is to sell your 3D printed designs. So this is a concept that has become pretty hot topic over the last few years, and there's a lot of websites that have popped up to sell 3D designs. So they're just digital files that you can download and print at home. So CG Trader is a very well-established company. It's like a 3D marketplace. People can sell pretty much anything 3D, and it's proven that people will buy 3D objects for industrial use, company use, things when you're inserting them to renders, you need something in the background. But in terms of hobbyists printing stuff from files they buy online, it's a little bit early days to tell if people will pay money for that. But what people will pay money for is to get their own things delivered already printed. So Shapeways has an online marketplace where, as a designer, you can design something, print it out once, get some really nice photos of it, and then other people can buy them from Shapeways. And Shapeways will print them for you and directly drop ship it to your customer. So you don't have to do anything, you just get a really nice cut. And this has been proving hugely popular, for example, for My Little Pony figurines. So on Shapeways, they even have a category for My Little Pony. They've been designed by the fan base and not by Hasbro. And there was a little bit of legal shenanigans, and Hasbro did try to shut it down, but they came to an agreement where they get a cut. So now it's actually endorsed by Hasbro, and you can go as an individual, buy these ponies, and Shapeways will print them and deliver them straight to the customer, and the original designer gets a cut. So you can do that with pretty much anything. You can do it with jewelry, with sort of custom objects, really niche designs that only a small amount of people need but will pay money for, like a very custom phone mount, for example, or figurines like the My Little Pony or wargaming. It's really starting to take off, and people will pay money for stuff to be printed for them and delivered. And the huge advantage of this is you don't need to spend much money to get started. It's not like you need to spend $100,000 in tooling where you're doing injection molding. You just have to print once. And I'm saying that because people won't buy things that don't have a good photo of the final print. Yes, you can have a Shapeways store with just renders and you haven't actually printed them, but no one's going to buy that. Why would you take the risk? So yeah, it's a small investment and could potentially pay off quite big. So that's one way, sell through Shapeways. And next there's crowdfunding. So yes, I did sort of bash crowdfunding in a previous video, but there's been a lot of tech projects that have been successfully funded and gone on to become wildly successful because of 3D printing. And they've done that because they've used 3D printing for their prototypes. So Kickstarter, for example, only allows tech projects now with a physical prototype. You can't just have CAD renders. It's not allowed. You have to have a physical object that functions before they'll let you put your project up. And this is awesome because with 3D printing, again, a very small amount of investment for a potentially huge gain if your product takes off. So like things like the Pebble watch, things like that, they actually prototype them with 3D printing before going on through to production. So if you actually have a small aim of production for your Kickstarter, for example, if you're only going to have a few hundred products and you're keeping it quite small, why not use 3D printing for the final product? You're keeping your costs to a pretty much minimum, and you can actually make a huge amount of money while using 3D printing as your production method as well as your prototyping method. But you have to have that original idea. So it doesn't matter if you're selling the digital design through something like 3D Hubs, or you're selling the physical prints from Shapeways, or you're doing a project on Kickstarter. You have to have that unique idea that people want, and that's something I'm not going to tell you because I don't know what they want, and that's something you're going to have to find out for yourself. And now I'm going to talk about how not to make money with 3D printing, and that's with Mini-Me's. Mini-Me's are a 3D scan of yourself that's been 3D printed, and it's become really popular in the media. There's a lot of places that have popped up to do this service, But think about it. How many times do you see a photograph of yourself that you actually like? You know, we're so vain that if you have a 3D print of yourself, it's going to be 100 times worse than a photograph could ever be. You know, all of your curves and shapes are going to be 3D printed in real life, you know, in a physical print. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to pay for a small version of myself, you know? So 4 companies I know of doing 3D mini-me's in Australia have already folded, and there's probably many more worldwide. It's not a business to get into. Do not do it. People aren't going to pay hundreds of dollars for a small version of themselves. You know, they might do it as a curiosity, but in terms of a long-term business, nah, I would not consider it. That's my 2 cents. And of course, there's the service side of 3D printing. 3D printing objects on demand, trainings, machine sales. To be honest, I work in this field, and the expectations of the consumer has skyrocketed since it first, you know, got noticed by the media. You can't get away anymore by buying a hobby printer and opening up a 3D printing bureau. It doesn't work. You have to have the expensive equipment, and it's got a huge barrier of entry. So I would not recommend going into this field unless you know what you're doing. You know, I've been a designer, industrial designer for years. I've been working with machines for years. It just happened to mesh nicely with 3D printing as it emerged, so I fell into it. But you can't just say, I'll learn it, because there's too much to learn in a short period of time and then somehow make money with it. So leave it to the experts, to be honest. So if you want stuff like that done, definitely get in contact with me. But yeah, if you're just a hobbyist and you like to learn about 3D design, there's no reason you can't make a small amount of income with 3D printing. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. I do all sorts of 3D printing content, so if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. And I'll see you around here again soon on Maker's Muse. Thanks, guys. Bye.